Hi everyone, welcome to the second episode of the TLC Marketing Show. Our last episode was with Gabby Lafer on how to improve your NPS score, which gave us some amazing insights. So thank you again to Gabby for joining us. But this time I'm with Mike Bryn, who is our resident loyalty expert, and we're going to chat all things emotional loyalty and marketing, and what brands fundamentally can do in order to increase engagement and in loyalty with their customers. So welcome, Mike. Thanks for joining us. We're going to sort of dive straight in with some of the questions. So we're going to spend the next max 30 minutes chatting. But Mike, first tell us a bit about yourself and your role at TLC.
Okay, role in TLC is I'm the Global Loyalty Director for TLC. So we have offices in 12 countries around the world. So my responsibility is to help those whenever we're working on loyalty propositions, and also to develop our own loyalty propositions. So where do TLC fit in the ecosystem of loyalty? We're a rewards-based business at our heart. So we use our reward and our content to help emotionally drive loyalty programs. And that's what we want to talk about today. Some tips and ways that we've seen it work, so we can share those experiences with you.
Amazing. And why did you first sort of work in within the loyalty sector, I guess?
I think it was general curiousness about people. I worked in data for a while. So I started off my career in retail, and then I worked in data for companies like Nielsen. So we would learn a lot about what the brands were doing. So you could see transaction level data. But really, for me, what motivated me was to see what people were actually doing, how often they were buying products, the frequency they were buying product, not just how much they bought. So that brought me into a realm of the best of that data is found in loyalty programs, or panels as they used to be years ago. So that brought me into loyalty, really was the passion for the data and to try and make customers' lives better. That's what it's about.
And I guess so much of loyalty is that sort of behaviour for consumers and why they do what they do. So I guess the data behind that couldn't be more important. So from when you sort of dived into loyalty, what then brought you to TLC?
It was an interesting conversation I had with our chairman, actually, Nick True, because I was a little bit, this is probably 8 years ago I joined TLC, a little bit disillusioned with loyalty, because I think the loyalty programs I was running at the time were all very points-based driven. So we were rewarding people for spend. The more you spend, the more points give you a discount. But in reality, it wasn't changing the behavior of all customers. And in truth, it changes behavior very little when you're just given, it becomes another discount scheme. So talking with Nick, actually, and he was talking about all the fantastic content that TLC sits on, everything from a days out to the zoo, to movies, to spa breaks. And I said, all that stuff, if you can put that into a loyalty program, if you can give people those rewards, that really can connect with them. So I think it was the content that sits in TLC that I was excited to see how that could build into a loyalty program.
It's so interesting as well about what you say about points-based loyalty programs, because we still see so many of them out there at the moment. And I think, and I'm a part of a lot of them. I know I am, where you get a card and the more that you purchase, the more you get back, or buy 6 and your 7th is free, or whatever that looks like. But I don't necessarily feel that I probably got that emotional connection with that brand, which I think is sort of a big thing that we're going to cover.
It's a real challenge, because I think they have a place. Like if you're retail, if you have high frequency, points are fine. But they really, you find out, and I've seen research, I won't quote because I can't remember verbatim, but you find out when you take loyalty programs away from those type of brands, you don't see the same loss of customers that you would expect it. So you need to have made that connection, and that comes from more than just a discount.
Do you feel that that's changed over the last couple of years during the pandemic? Have you seen loyalty be affected?
I think loyalty's been changing for a while, and I think even people are trying to stop using the word loyalty, because the connotation of expecting someone to be loyal to you today is really hard. There's so much choice out there.
Yeah.
And I think, the phrase I like to use is it's about us being loyal to them, us being loyal to the customer, not expecting the customer to be loyal to you. So I think people are changing their ways of doing loyalty. And I think the pandemic sped it up, because we're about the community a bit more. We're about engaging with people. We're looking for more truth from our brands. So I think that's changed our perception and how loyalty programs have been built.
Yeah. Interesting quote on the screen, hopefully that everyone can see now. Where did you find this?
Yeah, so Seth Godin, if you haven't read him, he's really great. Small books. First one I read was The Purple Cow, which I only looked at when that was published. It was 2007, so it's a long time ago, but just shows it stuck to me. And I often see his stuff coming true. And this one I really liked is what people want is the extra, the emotional bonus they get when they buy something they love. So that doesn't come with a discount, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And that's what people want. They want that extra, something that engages you, something that makes that brand feel like it understands me and you connect. So I was looking for something to start this that wasn't said by myself, or it's something that really stood out. And I think Seth really can say it better than most people.
But obviously, we all love a definition. We all like to define things. So how would you define what we're labeling as emotional marketing or emotional loyalty?
Yeah. I had a definition in there. And then I said, actually, we do rewards, so we create emotional rewards. So I said maybe we stick with something I understand better, we can talk about with more understanding from just doing. So to me, it's if you think of emotions, they inspire everything: fear, love, all that type of stuff. But what they do is they inspire loyalty, advocacy, and preference. Because if you connect with someone emotionally, you will get that advocacy and the preference. So emotional rewards to me should be an encouraging a participation or connection with a brand.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what they're doing. And it has to make sense that they fit in with that story. So without getting into, and maybe I've ducked the question, without getting into a full definition, isn't it just simply a reward that lets you do more of what you love to do?
Yeah.
So that to me, and you could argue discount does that as well, but I'm really thinking about that's what it means to me.
Yeah.
Is if I can do more of what I like to do and love to do, then I've got an emotional reward.
And I guess if you're rewarding a customer for something that they've done that they might usually do on a daily basis, buy their products, if they're then relating that, as you said, back to something that I love, they love as a customer, whether it's a day out with the family, you are then going to build that emotional connection with that brand, which brings it to life. And then, of course, you're more, 9 times out of 10, I reckon, you're more likely to go back to that brand, repeat business. So I agree in terms of sort of the emotional rewards and actually building that connection. What differentiates emotional loyalty programs to what we were talking about in terms of point-based programs?
I think there's a number of ingredients, and we'll get into the ingredients in a few minutes because I think there's a number of things you have to have working together. So it can't be just one thing. It can't be a silver bullet you put in. So it can't be just we put in rewards. It has to be that you're telling the story of the brand. The content is right. You're making it about um, that you can understand why I'm getting this reward or why I'm participating in this program. I mean, the ultimate thing is to see if I walk past one shop to another to be in their loyalty program. Would this program connect with me in any level that's above and beyond the discount of the product? So that's what we're trying to achieve. And I think the second line there, it probably stands out for me. It should be about helping your customers find additional value with each transaction and interaction with your brand. So ultimately, it gives them something. There was a phrase, and this was before pandemic. There was, it's not. I say I'm not against points programs, but they have their limitation. There was more airline points in circulation around the world than actual dollars. So if you have points in circulation, if you have rewards not being redeemed because they're not redeemed the points, you don't have engagement.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's about how do you create something that gives that engagement. It's relevant.
Yeah, and I guess it's about the communication as well. I think with so many programs that I'm a part of, and I'm definitely one of those people in my purse, I've got 10 different loyalty cards from brands that I don't necessarily buy from on a regular basis, but I also don't hear from them. I don't have that communication in terms of what I'm actually getting for being part of this program. Whereas at least we feel with a reward, you're getting that reward instantly for buying whatever product or doing a certain behavior. It's not all about buying the product, obviously, but it's an easier example. So I actually think it's the emotion and the emotive feeling it gives you, but it's also actually that instant communication that you get from the brand, even if it is just by here's your reward and you can redeem it in a certain way. So
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you my age, but I had a significant birthday recently, and as you can imagine, working in what I do, I sign up for a lot of loyalty programs.
Yeah.
In admiration for what brands do, and also in a need to keep involved and see what other people do. So all the programs we've created and run, obviously you want to know how they're going, and programs that you haven't. I got 2 birthday wishes.
That's
So
interesting.
every brand asks you for your date of birth.
Yeah.
And I got 2. So I'm not going to tell you the other 202 that didn't give me a birthday wish, but it just shows if you're making that commitment to a customer,
Yeah.
we've asked you for your birthday, do something with
Yeah.
it.
You're
Because if you
expecting
haven't
it.
done it, you haven't emotionally connected with it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. I'm now going to remember when it comes to my birthday this year. Going to see how many emails I get.
Yeah.
This is an interesting point that's up on the screen at the moment in terms of the spend when it comes to
Yeah.
loyalty-based
Yeah.
programs. I guess obviously this is in essence with that emotive side.
Yeah.
You see higher spend.
Yeah, it is, and some. I won't squint at the screen, so I'm not going to call out the numbers, but hopefully you can see them. What this really is, sometimes people look at loyalty programs, and you hear people saying, our customers in the loyalty program spend 50% more than customers that aren't in the program.
Yeah.
They will do that because they're the ones that are interested in joining the program because they're regular shoppers.
Yeah.
So by default, that's an easy thing for some people in the industry to say. What you really want to see is the long-term value of a customer. And this was a good piece of research. But this, if you look at it in detail, it focuses on how those brands did it, and they're brands that actually connected. So it's exciting when you do it right because you can get an ROI, and that's the trick of this.
Yeah.
So there is a real sense of financial benefit if you do it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, of course, a lot of our own clients at TLC, but also brands out there, of course, they want the loyalty and they want their customers to be a part of that program. But fundamentally, they need to make sure that the investment that they're putting in, whether it's through rewards or anything else, or even seeing that discount here, that it has to have that return, hasn't it? So we obviously labelled, put a subject line for this show, which is obviously the 9 ways. So I want to make sure that we've got enough time to go through them. So if we're looking at what that looks like and sort of the building blocks to create loyalty, can you take us through what each of these elements are?
Yeah, so we'll go through in detail with maybe a case study and an example of a reward, because in truth, when you do something for a brand and connect into it, we feel more comfortable talking about it than just talking about the theory of it. So I'll show some examples of this. But what you have here is, if you want to create emotional loyalty, it's not just one thing. I mean, loyalty is not a strategy. It's not, you can't say, I want to have a strategy called loyalty. You have to have building blocks and you have to do things to make it work. So things like authentic. I think if a brand isn't authentic and stands for something truly, it can't build an emotional loyalty program. It can build a CRM or a discount program, but it can't really do it. It has to have data, because the expectation of the personalization is huge today. We're all used to a world with Uber and getting stuff we want, and Amazon doing such a good job. So if you want to create emotional connection, you have to show people. So you have to have the data.
Goes back to those birthdays.
Birthdays again. I'm still feeling it.
Yeah.
So some brands are going to never get my business again. I group these two into communication because I think they're very important, and it's often asked, or I often ask myself as well, is how important is creativity and storytelling in a loyalty program? And I think if you don't get it right, you don't have relevance to your customer. So it's about taking whatever the story of that brand is. If it's an insurance brand that protects you, well, then make the story of your loyalty program about protection. If it's a fun brand, then bring some creativity in it. Don't just call it X rewards. Have the fun with those type of things. And then that brings you to connection. One of the biggest terms we're hearing at the moment is community. And I think it's a hangover, but we're still in the pandemic. But I think it's part of, there was a lot of talk about community. And I think we're all still trying to understand what would community mean
Mhm.
for a loyalty program, does it mean we're sharing information, or does it mean we're all feeling part of something that does something better? So it's understanding those type of things, and inspiration. You always have to inspire people. It's our job. So the last one there then is a couple of ones around activation, and how do we get members? How do we do some random act of kindness, or is
Mhm.
known as surprise and delight? And then content. What's good content? So I want to take all of those, give you some examples of brands I think that do it really well,
Mhm.
but then some examples, because I feel we can share that, of rewards, how we built rewards to develop those
Yeah.
those topics.
It was an interesting point about the community side of it as well, because I think also what we tend to see, and even sometimes with rewards, and what we do is sort of blanket rewards for everyone.
Mm,
Whereas actually for me in my head, community is also multiple communities.
mm,
Maybe it's sort of specific audience or anything like that
mm,
within a loyalty program, and
yeah,
making sure that you're personalizing it for every single
mm,
person or even group if you can.
mm,
What I would want as a reward might be different to what you would want, and I
yeah,
think brands need to recognize that and make sure that they have that full offering to every community as part of any
yeah,
loyalty program. But let's dive into some examples. So we're going back to sort of the building blocks
mm,
at the start. So the first one that you discussed was authentic.
yeah. Is their brand is more authentic than Vans? I think
Yeah.
maybe you could argue Disney or one of those brands. But what I like about this program is it's very much the Vans family.
Yeah.
It's very much about the content comes out. You get special editions. So they've really stuck to what the brand is about.
Hmm.
They haven't just tried to get you to sign up for anything. And the message and the way it's delivered is all on message, on brand, and it's an authentic message.
Yeah.
So,
I think when we look at bands as well, as you said, when we're thinking about authenticity,
mm,
is they haven't tried to be
mm,
something they're not. They are very, in terms of, again, going back to that
mm,
community and different audience, they know who
mm,
their
mm,
audience are. Though I do believe Vans's audience is getting bigger and
mm,
bigger and wider, but they are staying true to that sort
yeah.
of storytelling a little bit
Mm.
that we go on to. Um,
And just to be clear, if we're following this, is the on the as I see it, the van side, the left hand side is I'm looking at the screen. They're going to be brands we don't work with,
yeah.
but they're brands I admire, and I just want to put in this. On the other side is just showing how we did rewards to try and bring authentic story to a brand. And I think if you look at someone like Yakult,
Yeah.
it's very much about you take one every day. It's about, so we created a proposition where there was different sports and wellness sessions. It could have been a digital one, it could have been a physical one, and a different one for every day of the week. So I think that's how you really, what we're talking about here is the rewards that build authenticity as well as
Yeah.
the branding. So that's what we wanted to show in that example.
And also, I guess the rewards relating back to that product as well,
Mm,
making sure that we're not just offering a reward because it's part of our networks and
yeah.
we've got it available and it's a quick win.
Mm,
It's even if we need to build a
mm,
new network
mm,
of rewards specific for that product, because we know that their audience, their community base will
yeah.
rely on it and will respond to it really
Mm.
well. Data,
Yeah, data is really
everyone's
obvious.
favorite
Every
word.
favorite topic, and I think what's really interesting is there's cookies are going as we know them. So with new legislation and things like that, the tracking of people's behavior is changing.
Hmm.
So there's a big talk about zero party data, and zero party data is basically it's the most valuable data in some ways, because you could see someone does a transaction and buy lots of stuff, but it doesn't tell you what motivated them or what motivates them in life.
Yeah.
So in a sense, what you're doing with what I like this program here is it's asking people recipes. It's giving them recipes, asking them to pick recipes. It's asking them to tell them about what they like and what they don't like. So you're learning about the customer, and you need that to build the emotional
Hmm.
loyalty in your communication. So
Yeah.
that's an important one.
This is a great content piece as well in terms of what's going
Mm,
up on their boards, on their
mm,
websites, and anything. And of course, they're getting data from understanding their
yeah,
consumer. But actually, it's a great
mm,
content piece as well.
yeah. And company I love, Decathlon. It's a great sports store and a great passion for bringing sports to life for people. And what we did for them was, if you told us the support you sport you're into, we would give you a free sport lesson to try that out if you hadn't tried it.
Yeah.
So I think it's again about getting that content, showing people that you're interested, not just giving them, I'd like to start basketball, giving them 10% off basketball gear. So, well, here's a free basketball lesson.
Yeah.
And then you're really doing the data justice and using it to help people.
Yeah. Nice. And the third one was inspiration.
Yeah, it's just, I'd love to be part of the people that built this program. It's fantastic for North Face, and everything about it is inspiring in the way they bring in athletes and they bring people talking about it. So again, what a mistake for, and I'm not saying they do, but what a mistake if you have such inspiration in brand and then you give people discounts. You have to carry that through, and the content can be the inspiration, but you also should make your rewards as inspiring to want as
Yeah.
well and have.
Yeah.
So I think that's another big thing that people do, this amazing inspiration and then forget about adding the rewards to
Yeah.
it.
It's a really interesting point, actually, in terms of brands being a little bit hierarchical when it comes to sort of inspiring their consumers, inspiring content, and actually falling down because they offer a discount, which we tend to believe this like, sort of devalues a brand slightly. So actually making sure that whatever that added value is really aligns with the sort of
Yeah.
inspiration and the content that they pull through.
This is a very simple thing, and we did it for Tommy over Christmas, and we inspired people that the more you spend a certain level, you get holiday free credit for travel, and it was interesting because it did so well simply because people wanted to travel again, and it inspired them because we
Yeah.
all love to travel, and it was fitting in with the brand story. So I think that's the kind of inspiration I'm thinking about when you bring in rewards into it. It may seem a basic travel reward, but if it's linked to what this brand is doing, it makes perfect sense.
And I think travel generally is quite inspirational, and if you see that as a reward offering, again, it's sort of that highbrow reward, isn't it? And I think we're seeing more and more at the moment of people wanting to offer travel now that we're sort of, especially here in the UK, sort of going through that period where we are able to travel more. You travelled over
today,
a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
So I think we're seeing more and more clients want to be able to offer
Yeah.
this to their brand, to their customers. Sorry. And community.
Yeah, this is the one I said. We jumped into it earlier. Is what is community? How do we build it? It shouldn't be just for CSR.
Yeah.
You're doing it because that. I think my experience of running loyalty programs when we did charity element. So a lot of the brands used to do, we'll donate your points to charity. You never saw much pickup on it.
Yeah.
But I think when you see a change in this, where people we're doing some community, you're contributing to something, you're part of this community. So, there's many ways to do that. But if you're a community, I think the example we have is a good example. If you're a community of mothers, give that. We do work with P&G in the US. Give them time for themselves. Give them a free book to read or a movie to watch. So, they're part of a community of the hardest working people in the world, the mothers. And, think about that. That's the product they buy, and they're also managing budget, but they need their own time.
Yeah.
So I think when you have a community like that, let's create something for them.
Yeah. I think the likes of P&G, as well as Unilever, with so many sub brands, I still think they absolutely nail this when it comes to community and bringing a lot of people together, having sort of that common theme that everyone or the majority of people will relate to, and bringing that to life, which is really nice. Storytelling, which obviously is a big part of what TLC does, but we've used Nike as the example here.
Yeah, I grew up on Nike, so I grew up with the story of Phil Knight and Just Do It and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it always come true to me as a storytelling brand. So really, what I wanted to show here is when you have a story to tell, make sure you bring it through in the program, and you can see this here. If you ever look at the content that they have, it's so on brand, it's so on message. It talks about running events. It does all the things that they're supposed to do.
It's not just selling their product.
No, it's not selling their product. I think that's an incredible example. And a lot of the brands in that space, you could pick loads of them. A lot of them all do that. But that's why they have good loyalty scores whenever they're measured.
Yeah.
And if we want to think some rewards, this is something we did through pandemic. I mean, Fulfill is a brand, a client of ours, who wanted to fuel a friend. And really, what we did is you sent a bar to a friend during the pandemic, and you could send a message on it. So again, they're fueling that. It's a way of telling the story of what their brand does. I think loads and loads of examples of that are good, but it's just the whole storytelling is so critical in a
Yeah.
loyalty program.
Yeah. Creativity. So obviously we talked quite heavily at the beginning about making sure that you stand out as a brand, making sure that you're thinking outside of the box and less of the sort of points based, though we sort of don't want to rule them out completely. But creativity when it comes to sort of emotional loyalty, I think probably naturally happens as long as you do it properly.
And I think there isn't a brand that you can see this in the way they've done their VIP program. Just love it. And there's no experiential brand better than Lego, because you have to experience the product, you have to make the product. So that was a challenge when we wanted to do something for them, to help them with their creativity. This is an example of something we actually did for Lego, and it was linked to their Marvel products, and I'm pretty sure we did even do Jedi training courses, because we had a network of people who did taekwondo and karate, and we used those creativity to said, let's teach you how to be a Jedi. And as a person who remembers Star Wars the first time around, that's just amazing. And they're the type of things that inspired me to stay to work and still love my days in TLC, because we come up with that type of stuff, and it really brings to life what the brand is trying to achieve, and rewards in a sense that can bring it to life, bring that story to life in a creative way. Because I do think if you don't get the creative and the rewards, it's not so much what you give, it's how you give it.
Yeah.
If you can get that right, you're really on it.
I think this also shows that obviously you can still also be creative with the types of rewards in order to encourage loyalty when you're speaking to adults, which obviously you will be when it comes to a loyalty program and you're committing that. But the rewards can be for the family, they can be for the kids as well. And what's better than fencing with lightsabers?
Yeah, exactly. Conscious, we time is probably against us. I don't want to overstretch this point, but just three other ideas which come to mind that we've worked well on in our loyalty programs. Member get member traditionally doesn't work as well as we all hope it does.
Is that refer
That's
a
refer a
friend?
friend, yeah, refer a friend. I mean, we've done lots of them, and it's natural to do it on a cash kind of level. £10 if you refer a friend, or we give you a discount.
Yeah.
In general, people don't refer. This is something we've just done last year with Levi's, and it was linking into their social responsibility and what they wanted to do, their storytelling. And it was, we plant a tree on your behalf, and the results for that were really good, because I could see, I could refer a friend when it became something that was bigger than just a little cash discount off me.
Yeah. I think the sustainability side of it now, of course, as well. Everyone feels that obligation and the need to want to do something like that and more. And if a brand can give that to you by either referring a friend or whatever that looks like, I think a lot of people, and we already saw a lot of people found that really useful.
AmFam, American Family Insurance, one of my favorite programs I've ever worked on. And what we did with American Family is we created content that people could engage in. So it's things like, you're about insurance, you're about protecting. So that's your story, you're trying to protect you. And actually, American Family was the American Family dream.
Yeah.
So why not help people through the loyalty program to understand how to create a fire escape, how to check your smoke alarm, how to be able to jumpstart your car. They're actually risk mitigating activities as well.
Yeah.
So, from an insurance point of view, they're a good thing. But from a customer point of view, they're getting something back.
Yeah.
They're saying, you care about us. We want that information and be part of it. And there was rewards to help motivate as well.
Yeah.
But I think it was important to do that. And the final one there is just, simple random acts of kindness, treats, some examples of stuff we did for Superdrug. And they have moments where, the saddest day of the year, what was that, in January sometime?
January, Blue Monday.
Blue Monday, and giving people treats just in that time.
Yeah.
So I think it's about finding a little initiative. There's a mindfulness app, was it that time of year, just give people a sense, I'm thinking of you. I know it's a Blue Monday, but here's something like that. So it's about getting that connection, but it all goes back to, will this Are we doing something that's emotionally connecting? We know the topics and ingredients,
Yeah.
and are we getting them on
Yeah.
mark?
I think random acts of kindness, or surprise and delight, as we call it, is probably one of the strongest ones for me, because I think you're not asking your customer to do anything. Just by being part of the program, or just being a customer previously, you're going to reward them, and you want to. It's probably more of a retention subject when we're looking at programs. But I don't know whether brands do enough of this. I don't see enough, and all the loyalty programs that I'm a part of, I don't see hardly any of this, and I think we've proven it works. So I think it's a really important one.
It links back to the NPS you talked with Gabby in the previous one, because these random acts of kindness generate NPS.
Yeah.
You know, so I think they're important, that they're part of your strategy.
Absolutely. So what impact do we see emotional rewards sort of having on loyalty programs? I know we've spoken about it obviously quite heavily through the building blocks and through those nine ways, but what does that mean for a brand?
I'm gonna have to stretch in, sorry, because I should know this off by heart. But I think I'm gonna just circle those ones, and yeah, it does. Doesn't it show you understand me? I think it does. If you get this right, if you're got the data, you've done all the things right, it'll show you understand me. It makes you feel special, important. The next one there that you'll see is cares about the world, because that's the community in the world we live in. So it doesn't always have to be about planting trees, but it just shows we care about you. It could be the content you give. Have an audience of people like me, so you feel like you're part of something. So when you come into it, you identify yourself a certain way. You know, I like going out, I like staying in, I like fun things to do in the outdoors, I like going to the movies. And I think that shows, if you get all that right, and it's a very tricky thing to do. It's not that easy. It'll show you care about me, and that will give you that emotional connection.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's also that point with those areas there. It's about, we do all of those, a brand will do all of those building blocks. They'll have authenticity, they'll have the data, they then do something with that data, which is even more important, I think. The creativity side of it, storytelling, making sure that they're building their values as a brand and bringing that to life through their loyalty program, through rewards, hopefully. And then I think with the connection and connectivity with their customers, they're setting that bar and making sure that they're inspiring their customers to want to do more, whether that's through the customer behavior and actually buying more products, or asking them to do whatever that brand is asking them to, but building that community feel, I think. And then obviously those last three things that we talked about in terms of activation and the types of rewards, whether it's a referral, act of kindness, surprise and delight, and just building that content, I think. So it's a really interesting topic, and I think we could talk about loyalty for a long time. I know you could. But I think it's really important for everyone listening, is just making sure that you do have that full 360 of a loyalty program. You can't just take one strand. It's that full picture. Now we have got a question that has come through. So I'm going to throw you off a little bit and send you over a question. But in your experience, Mike, what type of rewards get the most engagement from customers?
It really, I think something that they can do that they enjoy with family and friends. It sometimes just is it, a cup of coffee, everyone will take a cup of coffee. But I think what they really get enjoyment, and when you really see them reporting back that you've done something different, is that kind of days out, or you got to sit down and watch a movie for friends. So it's something that you can do with somebody together.
That's nice.
I think it's that they're the ones that people come back and say, I enjoy that most. The ones that they just consume themselves individually, not as much.
And I think it's probably also what I tend to see is those that they wouldn't necessarily as often by themselves. I think we all buy ourselves a coffee every day, or I definitely do, maybe more than one. But I do that anyway. I wouldn't necessarily every weekend go out with the family, spend money on a trip out. That's more of a treat, or something that you would do every now and again. So I agree, the sort of the group activity.
An experience. An experience that is something you've experienced, and the wider the audience, if you experience it with someone else, it creates a better experience.
Definitely. And obviously, experiences mean that a customer is more likely to talk about it, and it again goes back to that NPS score and building that as well. But we are going to finish there. But Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to go through that with us, and I hope everyone found that really useful. But we'll be joining the TLC Marketing Show again in a couple of weeks with actually our CEO, Alec Johnson. He will be doing a session on leadership, so quite different from what we've spoken about in the last two episodes. So we encourage everybody that has a team, a manager, or is a CEO themselves of a company to come and listen to Alec and I talk on all things leadership. But Mike, thanks again.
Thank you.
And we will see everyone else soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.